The new Blizzard revelations are wild. Wait, what's going on? The War Within's next full patch, Blizzard's downfall, and massive nerfs. Wait, what? Both of these videos look nuts. Which one do we watch? All right, so this first video, guys, Bellular's The War Within's next full patch and Blizzard's downfall and massive nerfs. Let's take a look.
Welcome back, everyone. It's time for the news where there's a lot to talk about. So, we know why Mike Morhaime left. We know the sorts of things that Bobby Kotick got up to, all because of an excerpt of Jason Schreier's book. That'll be pretty fun. And a lot of things that ex-senior staff told me in person years ago have been confirmed. That'll be a lot of fun. But for things actually within World of Warcraft, there's also an absolute stack. I'll get stuck in with the first one, which is that for the last 10 years, starting late Mists of Pandaria, mounts and their descriptions on the store have been one way of hinting at what's coming next. The trend continues this week, but it's a little bit different because it's happening with a pet on the trading post. October rewards have been unveiled. They're actually pretty good. And one of them hints basically at the next patch. It's called the Soot Stained Shalewing. And, well, its description is it's pretty overt. It has a affinity for nesting in the smokestacks of Undermine. So that's very much another hint for the pile. And between it, the 11.1 Goblin icon that was spotted a while back, and then the unanswered Goblin questions in the side quests, as well as the Gazlowe comic, which felt a little bit random for the War Within. I mean, there really is a lot of evidence pointing at Undermine in 11.1. Honestly, so much so that I'm almost curious, like, are Blizzard trying to do a bait and switch or something here? A lot of people also expect the Harrenir and the Rootlands as a patch, maybe in 11.1. And to be
It would actually be pretty cool to play as Harrenir or whatever. Like, that looks sick. That would actually be rad. And the cast animations and the flips and the movement, like, straight up from Avatar, man.
Back the Harrenir and the Rootlands as a patch, maybe in 11.1. And to be honest, the idea of a straight Goblin patch does feel kind of off to me. It would feel a little bit out of left field. That being said, if there is a Goblin raid, I don't think that rules out the Harrenir and the Rootlands. Given the Goblins are probably going to be doing some resource extraction, maybe targeting the Roots, it makes complete sense that the Harrenir would, want to kill them. Expect to find out soon anyway, and remember, there is no BlizzCon this year, but Blizzard are doing a Warcraft Direct.
Bro, I'm actually so sad there's no BlizzCon. Like, I think I've told this story, but BlizzCon is like the one time a year I get to like meet you guys, like all my videos and stuff, you guys give them thumbs up or thumbs down, comments, all that kind of stuff, but it's virtual and it's hard to like really see and feel that impact. And once a year at BlizzCon, people actually come up, shake my hand, and they're like, hey, I love the content. Or actually, I don't know if there's ever been anyone at like face to face that's been like, hey, I hate the content, but you know what, maybe someday it'll happen. Anyway, that's the one time a year, and it's awesome because I get to be like, oh wow, people actually, like, real life people actually watch my videos and somewhat like enjoy them to some degree. That's pretty cool. But COVID happened in 2020, so we didn't go in 2020. And then COVID was still happening in 2021, and then in 2022, I think they still didn't do it because COVID, I think. And then 2023, there was a BlizzCon, but my son was being born November 5th. So like we were like a couple days out of my son being born. So obviously didn't want to travel. So we didn't go in 2023. So I was like stoked to go this year, but it's canceled this year. It has been 5 years. Actually, yeah, 5 years since I've been to BlizzCon. 5 years since I've shaken any of your guys' hands at BlizzCon and been able to meet you guys. Like it's actually just too long, man. 2025 hype. All right, it should be fun.
Which will basically be some sort of live stream event replacement. It'll likely happen within the next month and a half, and with that we will find out what's exactly next, including the roadmap, which does mean you got plenty of time to train up. It will teach you real skills that are high impact, and I know that because it's what I majored in. Boot.dev/Bellular will teach you back-end development using Python and Go, and they will solve the worst learning pitfall, bouncing from tutorial to tutorial, forum post to forum post, all done by different people with different styles and not on complete projects. Boot gives you a complete learning path. It's extensive. It's made by backend devs who love video games, which is why they've baked in community raid bosses, XP, quests, leaderboards, all of that, and they've built a killer Discord community.
So I'm not sponsored by Boot Dev, obviously. I have to admit, Their service looks pretty cool. If you wanted to learn how to code, it actually looks kind of cool.
And now's actually a perfect time to start. You see, they've posted a 7-hour walkthrough of their Python course. And that's big because Python is the foundational thing here. It's the first programming language you'll be learning. And the amazing thing with programming is once you learn one language, you learn so many concepts and basically logic that applies to every other programming language, and it makes this an amazing start. You can get 25% off your first purchase with code Bellular. With that, you can hop into fun, game concept inspired problems that leverage what you already understand from video games to help the new concepts click. Or even just do a fun project like building a Pokedex. Boot also runs a no questions asked 30-day money-back guarantee. They've got free demos for all their courses, and they are super consumer friendly. So again, boot.dev/Bellular, 25% off your first purchase, and they'll take care of you for the rest.
Now, while we're talking about the trading post, I should highlight that it's actually pretty good this month. We've got a mount again as a reward, which is brilliant. It's the Depth Stalker, which is one of those Zereth Mortis style jellyfish
cool
mounts. I think it's pretty neat. And also, everything this
very
month
cool.
is black or white, which will be really good for just like versatile transmog pieces. You can even get yourself a pair of Uggs. Fantastic. But also this Harvest Golem cosplay, which I think is real lovely for how...
Dude, I actually like this Harvest Golem. I'm wearing it in-game right now on my little gnome mage, and I have the Headless Horseman mount to match it. Like, this thing, bro, I'm not gonna lie, it goes kind of hard. I like this mog. It's sick. Especially for October. You know what I mean? That's all right. That's all right.
Halloween. That being said, though, yeah, you're going to want to spend loads of tender in November, most likely, and that's because the three-piece sets that were themed around classes from last year, well, those are coming back in November, including the weapons, which is a shit ton of stuff. That will cost a lot of tender, and better yet, they're actually not class restricted this time round. That's really good. They're gorgeous bits of gear, so if you missed out getting them last year or during Remix, then yeah, you at least have a chance in November, but it'll be expensive. Next up then, we got Blizzard reacting to feedback. So the Trolls Doll Ascendance form that is coming soon, to some people is really cool, but not everybody felt that it really matched their idea of a shaman popping off. Blizzard basically agreed, so it's now been reined in, and I would say
they actually changed the shaman model. Okay, all right, bro. I've got to say this. There was that big announcement video, and they of the new shaman model for Ascendance, and everyone in my chat was like pogging, and I'm like, you guys are trolling. This looks awful. And I stood there. Everyone called me an idiot, and I was like, this just doesn't look good. You guys, like, you might like it. Just doesn't look good. They actually changed it. There we go, boys. I told you it didn't look good. The hair was trash. It was just like flying everywhere, man. This looks way better. This looks way better. You can use all three now. You can get both. Okay, good. I mean, hey, if you liked the weird hair, you can pick the weird hair, but this one's way cooler.
They refined a little for the update. I think the update looks great. They've now got like big shoulder pads and a helmet that sort of keep all of that crazy hair power contained.
Yeah, see?
The good news though is if you do like the old model or the big hair version, those are going to be available via glyphs. Next, and this is massive if you want to upgrade your character, Zekfir has been giga nerfed. A wave of hotfixes on Friday made him just notably easier on both of his difficulty tiers.
Yeah, so we did this, and it is way easier. Like way easier. I did it in 4 attempts on question mark, and the first 3 attempts were just troll. Like it should have been a one shot. Like you should be, if you go in and you know this fight, you could probably one shot it now.
He's got about 10% less HP, he does less damage, but far more importantly, the egg takes longer to hatch, and the egg is much easier to kill.
Right.
And that is the bit of the encounter that would actually get you killed, and it's basically now trivial. To be clear, he is still not easy. You can get killed, but to put it this way, we've beaten a tier 1 Zekfir on a 576 Boomkin and a 535 Rat Paladin. And then with tier 2, we've defeated that on a 612 Unholy DK. Basically just set Bran into his healer mode, hold your cooldowns for the egg, do all the other mechanics right, and you basically will win. That will get you your tier 2 Void Dirigible in a way that, unlike the initial version, wasn't because of, well, Bran being completely overpowered. And there's another reason here. If you spam tier 1s, you will basically find for yourself the fastest way to fill your vault with item level.
Yeah, so I did this last week. You just spam tier 1s, and you can fill your vault super quick. So the proof right here, I've only done a couple delves this week. You get 616 item level rewards for just spamming the tier 1 Zekfir, and you can do it in like 3 minutes. If you have like good gear, you just run in, you can kill the boss in like 3 minutes, run out, and you can get vault rewards. So if you just want to do that 8 times, I mean, what's 8 times 3? I'll let you guys do the math. So there it is.
616 gear. It's crazy. On our Paladin kill, at a measly eye level 535, a freshly dinged character, he was dead in 5 minutes. And that means that taking out Zekfir is faster than even the shortest tier 8 delve.
Yeah.
And for geared characters, it's also the fastest way to farm Valor Stones in the game. An item level 610-ish DPS can kill him in just over a minute. You get 25 Valor Stones a kill, which basically means 300 stones in around 20 minutes. That's a lot of stones. We're currently working on a guide for this, so it should drop within the next few days. Okay, Blizzard drama, juicy stuff, corporate shenanigans, Jason Schreier. I know that's a lot of words, but Jason Schreier is really the journalist with contacts in Activision and Blizzard. He's got a new book coming out that's called Play Nice, The Rise, Fall, and Future of Blizzard Entertainment. It's not out yet, but he did post a preview to Bloomberg, and it's fun. Yeah, this is not going to be a shocker, but we were not the only people who didn't love Bobby Kotick's influence. And that's because Mike Morhaime was not a fan of Bobby Kotick at all. Essentially, it paints a picture of constant fighting with Activision and Kotick that got so bad that Mike Morhaime tried to resign in 2017. He was then convinced not to. Basically, right? Bobby loved the fame and fortune of owning World of Warcraft. He was a little bit obsessed with Titan as the next big thing, because if Titan pulled off a Warcraft, it would have been one of the most line-go-up events in gaming. But obviously with Titan, $80 million, and 7 years later, the thing got killed. Which, honestly, for today's games industry, is absolutely pitiful numbers. Come on! Modern game companies can waste so much more money, but for back then, it was a shitload. Bobby did not take this dying well. He forced Morhaime to basically...
I wonder if anything that we've played is using the assets from the 80 million they spent on Titan. I'm thinking Plunderstorm, obviously Overwatch, like maybe Heroes, like I think Overwatch is a pretty clear one, but I wonder if there's been more that we've seen from Titan that we never really knew was from Titan. Like, whoa, we've already built this. Oh, let's just use that whole thing over here, right?
Bring in an executive who was as obsessed with the old bean counting as Bobby was, all to make sure that that kind of wastage didn't happen again. And really, that was the beginning of the end. Profit margins needed to go up, and look, in a way, that is fair and understandable. The problem, though, is how do you do that in the context of a games company that makes games and not generic widgets? As an example, the new CFO that was brought in wanted to kill BlizzCon for not being worth it on the balance sheet, because...
Whoa, that's crazy. They don't make money off BlizzCon. It's just like a community hype event, huh? I've actually wondered that before, because there's a lot of setup in BlizzCon, and you can only sell a limited number of tickets. It's, you know, it's like, do they actually make money? Maybe it's neutral, right? Which is kind of crazy to think about. It's still like super, super, super hype though, and exciting, right? But it's probably like a ton of work for like a pretty small reward.
Bean counters like that do not understand the psychological value of things. They don't understand the intangibles. He was in fact so clueless in games that he asked why they couldn't just
it's like okay, say you put on an event like BlizzCon, you don't make a penny. It's like you make, you know, 10 million, you spend 10 million, so you come out zero, right? And it's like, okay, but you had thousands or tens of thousands of people meet up, meet their friends, and then continue their WoW subscription when they otherwise would have stopped their WoW subscription for maybe many more years. It's like those intangibles are probably just like super insanely worth it, right?
Make more games by opening more offices, because that worked in his last job. Soap, because yeah, he didn't come from the gaming industry. He was a soap man, amongst other things. Basically, everything that we could see from the outside was real. There are cases where it was worse than we thought. Many stumbles Blizzard made, well, they would just be an excuse for Bobby or his lackeys to cut some costs or install more of their own people within Blizzard Entertainment. And the ultimate reason why Mike stepped down is because he couldn't keep Kotick from ruining or at least changing his Blizzard. Bobby, over the years, assumed more and more control. That was that. And in an email sent in 2018, shortly before he left, Morhaime said this to Kotick: "It has been increasingly hard for me to provide Blizzard leadership and staff confidence that Blizzard has a stable future." That is just one excerpt from the book. There, look, what is especially in my mind is a long discussion that I had with a developer, not in World of Warcraft, but you would actually know them.
This was from 6 years ago, just to kind of keep the scope. We have a much different Blizzard in 2024 than we did in 2018, or at least that's how it feels like from a player perspective. But you could, back then, things really did feel a bit unstable for a lot of different reasons, right? There's a lot of stuff going on at Blizzard, and now it feels like for the first time in a long time since this past BlizzCon, it's like kind of exciting to play as a player, right?
But I had that in like maybe 2018, 2 or 3 hours, and it really just completely reflects this. So I'm not surprised. This is absolutely how a lot of it went, and suffice to say, whenever I get my hands on that book, I will be diving deep into it. Okay, let's round it off with some quick-fire news. Patron orders have been updated if you're a crafter. It's quite nice. They are now much more likely to provide you with reagents, and orders for extremely expensive items won't appear anymore.
I still don't get crafting in War Within or Dragonflight. Like, I still am just confused. You know what? It's probably because I'm not a crafter. You know what I should probably do? I should probably just level up my like tailoring and become a crafter for like a week or two, and just to understand the system in and out, and then from there I'll be good. But like, bro, the whole work the work order system for crafting just like breaks my brain every time. I mean, I've done it, man. I've done it, but it's just like I have to do little baby steps, and I have to have Twitch chat hold my hand the whole time, and it's just like, all right, am I doing this right? Am I doing, like, it's bad.
Which is a bit unhinged. Now you might actually be able to progress your crafting without completely bankrupting yourself. Maybe. Then tons of nerfs have came in, and for Raid, it's mostly outlier cases for smaller group. That's things like Brew Twister adds, Kavessa's damage, and a bunch of things on Ansurek. So those have been nerfed, and for dungeons, nerfs and fixes are just swarming in. Siege of Borealis was clearly too much for players, gotta say, been in there twice, wasn't a great time, didn't have that much fun. It just felt like, yes, there were mechanics, but they were just annoying. That's what Borealis felt like to me anyway.
Siege is still annoying. Like, you go in, we tried to do a plus 13 siege and a plus 12 siege, and you just go in and there's just like, you'll get gripped into like a conal and it'll just one-shot you. It's like two mechanics that interact in a way that's just like, it feels like it's unavoidable. Whereas in a lot of the other dungeons, you just avoid this stuff and it's fine. But in Siege, it's just like, oh, what could you have done there? Oh, pretty much nothing. Like, you just got owned. Like, there's mobs in Siege that just shadow step you. Crap, what are they called? Siege of Borealis. It's like these ones, I think. Iron-Tide Curse Blades. I think it's these guys. Maybe. I think it's these Curse Blades. These guys can just like shadow step you and smoke you. And it's just like, okay, like what the heck's going on? It's crazy. Yeah, I think Siege is probably one of my least favorites, to be honest.
So that stuff has been toned down across the board, and they've even nixed the frustrating knockback on the last boss as well. Then Necrotic Wake's big gatekeeper guy has been nerfed, but he's also worth more mob count, so some routes will need to be updated. And more importantly, the rot damage from the third boss's abominations has been nerfed. Then Grimbatal has got some key nerfs to target the biggest killers, and the last boss has been shrank a little bit, so maybe you'll be able to see what's happening.
Oh, they actually did reduce the size. Okay, that's interesting. I didn't realize that, but I remember like running this and I was like, something feels different. That must have been what it was.
Lastly then, Stone Vault's machinists have been fixed to not put you in a unwinnable situation, and I'd say overall Mythic Plus is feeling pretty great this time round. I think this week of hotfixes will knock out, I mean, most of the major issues. And then finally in this week's
I feel like there's still a lot of major issues, but I've been having a lot of fun with M+, but I feel like there's still a lot of work to be done. I wouldn't be like, all right, cool, we're good now. It's like, I think there's some stuff still.
News, we got some new content both in live and Season of Discovery. Season of Discovery is something we don't cover that often because it's outside of our wheelhouse, but Phase 5 is live. So if you're done with Modern WoW already, then there is actually more Warcraft to go and play. And even if you don't fancy doing Blackwing Lair again, there's actually a new boss for the Classic Plus dungeon that they've added, and there's a whole new one-boss raid called the Crystal Veil, which is really cool. It's basically just Prince Thunderan as a world boss, so yeah, pretty cool.
I actually didn't know that. how did I like? There's a one boss raid in SOD Phase 5. That's pretty cool. I actually haven't played any SOD Phase 5 at all. I played so much SOD the last year, but I've been like just hooked on retail, so I haven't actually hopped on and checked it out yet. So